The Asics Novablast 4 versus the Nike Zoom Fly 6. Which one is your better daily trainer? Let's compare and contrast and find out. So before we get into the video, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you're already subscribed watching content, thanks so much. I love you guys a lot. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and Strava for all sorts of other updates and things like that. So without further ado, let's begin. Specs for both shoes up here respectively. And as we probably already know right off the rip, we're going to have a comparison of a carbon plate shoe versus a non-carbon plate, which will kind of factor in as we get into it. So as we've discussed ad nauseum with some of these comparisons, spec-wise, the Novablast 4 runs more of a stack cushion or a max stack cushion style shoe where we got a 41 millimeter in the heel, 33 in the forefoot, 8 millimeter offset, but a lot taller just by a slight margin to the Zoom Fly 6, which has 40 millimeters in the heel, 32 in the forefoot, still an 8 millimeter offset. So that's all good and all. They're still both pretty high stacks. One's of course a little bit more max than the other, in my opinion. But that's just something to consider if you want more contact with the ground or a little bit more support and things like that to consider. With the Novablast 4, there's a couple of things that I would consider right off the rip when it comes to how you would navigate the comparison against the Zoom Fly 6. Number one, it's the brand, right? Asics is well known for having extremely well-engineered product, in my opinion. Granted, there are a couple of product that might just outright not be for you as a runner, which is sort of the trade-off when it comes to getting an Asics shoe. It's like, it's either for you or it's not. But when it is for you, it's really for you, kind of a deal. So with the Novablast 4, this one kind of blurs those lines because this is just such a really good overall daily trainer for just about everyone, okay? Now when I talk about the extreme point I made there, I'm talking like the Metaspeed Sky Plus, for an example, where the shoe has an offset of, I think, about 4 to 5 millimeters. It runs a little bit less like a high heel and more like a flat shoe. So unless your running form was good in that kind of a shoe, you wouldn't want to run in it because it would actually end up causing you blisters, similar to what happened to me at a race previously, right? I just wasn't ready for that shoe. But with the Novablast 4, follows more of the daily trainer, everyday, every type of person's style of ride, if you've got pretty decent form with it. So that's just something to consider. And again, no carbon plate means it's a little bit more of a softer impact on the ground. Granted, the way you strike the ground is going to be about similar, but as the shoe starts wearing in distance, you're going to experience different sensations. One of which is that the center of the shoe with this foam rubber combo is going to start deprecating in a way where it's going to feel like you have some gaps, like between, I would say in my case, like right between the big and the second toe and your pinky toe and your ring toe. It's going to start feeling like you have this like wedge that's kind of sinking in between the shoes as you put in more distance. But the support on the shoe is great. I think overall it is a really great daily trainer that doesn't require you to push hard, but if you want to push hard in it, it's great. If you want to go slow and just have a really good time with it, you can rely on this shoe comfortably to do just that much. As I'm getting to about 250 plus miles in this shoe, we're going to find out if that's kind of the limit of where I would go for somebody of my build, which is about 5'8", 145 pounds, just to see if you can continue doing that with this particular shoe. So now we go on to the other side of the spectrum here. We have the Zoom Fly 6. As I mentioned here probably a couple of times, we do have the carbon plate in the shoe. We have two compounds, right? We have that EVA foam, we have the Zoom X carbon plate sandwiched in between them. The shoe is not really going to be your everyday daily trainer type of shoe. It's going to be intended more for your speed workouts, but it's not to say you couldn't take it on an easy run. It would just, in my opinion, be a waste. It's like putting, I guess, 93 gas and you're driving in the city with a Honda Civic. Like, there's no point. Like, you want to put that in if you're like on the highway and you want to go a little bit more efficiently, or you want to go a little bit faster and have a sort of that kind of kick in the engine, or that's the lack of my car knowledge. But it's just like, why would you want to pick something that would go faster for an easier to / recovery workout? And even as we go to that low, I wouldn't even recommend this for recovery because the carbon plate makes the shoe so stiff as it is that you need to drill into it and kind of put your own force into the shoe to get that rebound. that would get a little more speed in the shoe overall, right? Now, in terms of comfort, the toe box does run a little bit tighter in the shoe compared to like the Novablast 4. The fit is not nearly as comfortable. It is better than most Zoomfly series shoes, but compared to the Novablast, like this is a no-brainer in terms of comfort. Which one's going to win that prize? That's the Novablast 4. In terms of which one is going to be the fastest shoe, in my personal experience, I'm seeing that based on heart rate data, like the Maftone Max heart rate for me, running at like 7:45 pace versus like 8:15 in this shoe, is about like 145, 146, maybe 150. So I'm seeing them going faster with less effort in the Zoomfly 6 than something like the Novablast 4. That being said, I believe the Novablast 4 is also slightly heavier just because there's more material, just a wider base of material across the shoe, whereas the Zoomfly 6 runs a little bit more streamlined, and not completely, not the most streamlined thing ever, but it is a lot more streamlined compared to the Novablast 4. We'll just leave it at that. So in terms of shoes that would be equivalents, I mean, again, to Zoomfly 6, we're talking like the Puma Deviate Nitro 2, Nitro 3, the Boston 12, Boston 11 from Asics. Those are like, from Adidas. Those are like the shoes that kind of compare more or less to the Zoomfly 6, where for the Novablast 4, I could see, like, again, the Novablast 3 was like a comparison, like the Hoka Mach 4, Mach 5, Mach 6 series shoes. The Arahis, up to this point, are also like really similar to the Novablast 4, where the shoe is just, it's more of a comfortable piece that's just supposed to be more of your easy to recovery to slightly fast pace if you want to push into that pace. It's just not intended to be like your threshold workout kind of piece, right? It wants to add more miles. It wants to be that volume shoe. That's what you want to use this for. But now when we get into the Zoomfly 6, you don't want to put those daily miles on the shoe. You want to put a little bit more speed on this thing. Some track workouts if you got them. If you want to do some hill intervals, some hill strides, things like that. This is what this thing is probably more intended for. But again, the range is flexible to your need and your price, budget, I guess you can say. So between both shoes, it is an apples and oranges comparison of which one I pick over the other. If you absolutely have to pick one as like your daily trainer, assuming you have a race day shoe that you can use, I would probably still lean more for the Novablast 4 just because of the versatility of the shoe, where like, yes, I can put it into the recovery range, I can put it in an easy range. If I need to try a tempo workout in this thing, I can do it. It'll be a little bit more difficult, but overall, from what I'm seeing at like 200 plus miles into this shoe, it remains comfortable. The ride has been very consistent as far as I've been able to tell from my experience with it. And just overall, when I'm done running in this shoe, I don't have like any after sort of pains in my ankle, knees, anything like that, because there's no carbon plate to stiffen up the shoe, but also give you that additional kick in your daily run. Whereas like shoes like the Zoomfly 6, and as we get into like the Puma Deviates also, the Boston 12s, Boston 11s, this carbon plate technology I would use for your faster workouts. I would not recommend it for recovery. I would not recommend it for like easy everyday stuff unless you're training a certain way where your marathon workout wants you to spend longer distances in the carbon plate shoe just to kind of get used to the sensation of it during your everyday style running. So that I leave on the table in terms of training, is just like having the feel of that shoe. But in terms of a daily trainer, like, again, I have 200 plus miles in this shoe. I have almost 50 in this one, just from experience and how I've felt in the last couple of days between both. I just like the Novablast 4 a lot more than the Zoomfly 6. So I think we'll leave it at that. If you agree or disagree with the assessment, just let me know in the comments below. Let's talk about it, see if the thoughts are correct, whether we like no carbon plates versus a carbon plate, whether it's a brand issue here where Nike just has their pitfalls in the last couple of years, and Asics has just got a really well engineered shoe that's either extremely hit or miss. Like, let's talk about it, right? And yeah, I think we'll leave it at that for now. So Novablast 4, still really love this shoe. It's a hard one to beat. So I think we'll leave it at that. So thanks again for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.